Alright, I know what you're saying. Hey, you went and changed things while I was gone. Well, don't worry, not much. What I did do is delete all of these top faces here. Since we're not going to need them, what I plan on doing at least is adding just a regular plane to separate our bottom floor from our top floor. And that's all we need. So we won't need those top faces; they would never be seen. So, and then I took the liberty of deleting a lot of the excess lines in there, and then we could also, if we really wanted to, we could go ahead and then we could face more things up, since they will now. Well, they don't. They should though, and I hate them. But as you can see, this makes backface culling very obvious to see. So you can see that it's only displaying the size that you see. So very nice, very special. But now you're saying, well, this is all fine and dandy, it's a nice little level, but it's kind of blocky, dude. I mean, this isn't really what I signed up for. I don't want little weird hallways like this. I want to make something look a little different, like in real life, maybe. So I hear you. You probably should have mentioned something earlier, but it's your first time. You'll get over it. But now we'll just do a little bit of editing here and there, and I'll show you some of the basics. One of the simplest things you can do is say, hey, I don't want blocky, stuff like this. So we can go into line select and we can select these two things here, and we can hit F, and that's going to face it. You'll say, but look, it's facing the wrong freaking way. To do that, you go back into the backface culling is all calculated on normals, as we obviously were discovered earlier. So we can do I think it's flip normals. Bam, there you go. You got your little wall there. So now that's in there, and then we can go and yeah, face that up as well. And now you have a small, skinny little hallway that's actually not blocky, so it's more like it is smaller. So I'm wondering if there's an easy way. We'll have to see, because we have to be very careful about stretching the textures, because that's not going to be good, and that's not going to be easy to fix, and I'm not going to like that. I'm going to be unhappy. We should also see, if possible, to phase out these back here. We should just be able to do face delete, but sometimes that'll cause issues. Obviously it's not working because I said it might cause issues. So we can just go ahead and delete these faces here. Not that one. We can't really delete these faces down here because they're obviously part of a bigger thing there. Another thing I forgot to mention was what I like to do before I close anything is just hit space and do pack all, and that's going to pack all of the images, everything's going to be all nicely packed in one Blender file, so you can move it around. Because if you move it around, it'll look pink, or it'll just be missing textures, and the materials will be gone, things will just be gone. And what I also do with a lot of my floor walls and stuff that I know I'm going to be using, I hit F, so just in case for some reason all of them are deselected, it won't kill it when I close Blender. I'll do that same thing for I usually do the same thing for the freaking images too. So that's a few things to keep in mind. Another thing that we didn't really get around to was let me see, remove doubles, I think, right? There we go. Remove 43 vertices, and that just kind of cleans up the vertice count. And if you were really anal, I hate it. I don't know why it does that, but I hate it. I'm in perspective view, and I think that's something to do with it. But if we go into line select here, like on one of these, you'll see, bam, oh no, these are all separate lines from when it was subdivided. Now if you're like, well, I really don't like that, I want to make sure, what you can do is select bam, 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 bam. Again, in edit mode, hit Alt M, and then at last. And then voila, you don't have that problem anymore. If you really had nothing to do, you could go around and do that all day and just say, hey, look at that, Alt M. If anyone knows of a fast way to do that, that'd be amazing. I mean, but that gets just your vertice count down. I don't know how big of a deal that is, but as you can see, I tend to not do it for several reasons. One, because that's just way too much work, and two, if I need to do things, I shouldn't need to, but if I need to do things like, well, that's not right, like that, put a face on there, for whatever reason, I can do that because it's there. So, but I'm not planning on doing things that way, and I can no longer. There we go. That's why I tend to leave them, just in case something like that ever comes up. They're perfectly aligned, they're still in squares, which means it's possible to edit them. Which also means I probably should, no, it does work. Okay, good. I was going to say I probably shouldn't have done that double face, but it still has the vertice count there. So, now let me see. If we did want to move that, I wonder if there is an easy way. See, it's going to stretch. That's the problem. It's going to stretch those textures, and it's not going to be pleasant. I'm wondering if we can rip the sides. I'm not sure. I'm going to do a little bit of research. I'll be right back. Alright, well that was very ugly. I was concerned about ripping, or about stretching these texture blocks, because I want them all to be one square block. It's just going to make things easier, or I mean, at least start out that way. I mean, maybe it'd be easy, I don't know. I didn't really try it, but I did have to go to each vertice, go into vertice mode, bam, and then rip it by hitting V, and then that separated every single bottom. I had to go every single vertice and do that and separate it from the floor. And then I had to I just did like GY and moved along the Y-axis back a bit so that it's like a wider floor. And then just to get your floor out and running, this is another way you can build maps that I haven't really shown you yet. You can extrude, in this case along the X-axis, out to about, say, there. I wish these were like one. I'm not sure how to make it so that to ensure that these would be one blender unit across. There's probably a way to do it when you're subdividing. I don't know. Who knows? And then you go and grab that, and then you extrude along the X. And I just kind of guess at it. So then maybe I can just rotate it. Not like that though. I'd have to rotate the vertex. Let me see. Learning experience. Yay. Holy freaking. Not a fan of this right now. Not really a fan. Not happy. Nope, see? Not selecting the wrong effing thing. There, look at that. Just hit H to hide it. I don't have my screencast keys on. I'm sorry, guys. Let me figure this out for myself a second. Start. Alright. And let's do this along the X again. Move it back down just a little bit. Then we're gonna. I wanted to go to vertice mode. Hit R to rotate this along the X. Is that what I'm looking for? You know what? Screw it, because it's going to stretch the texture again, and you know how much I hate stretching textures. Let's go back to this, and I think what we can do is I need to get more familiar with the way to line things up in Blender. Like I want to constrain it so that it clicks at that point, but I literally do not know how. It's once again. Alright, then we can Alt H, and that will unhide last reveal hidden. Ooh, that's so fancy. Did not know it would do that. And then we're back to textured mode. And there we go. We have that. Alright, so now we made our hallway just a little bit bigger. Man, that's really hard to see. Alright, so, but then we have to go back into our, edit mode, that's what I was going for. And we can go into this and then set these manually, but I usually like to just select all the floor again. And this is all because we didn't do our editing before we did our texturing. Somebody didn't speak up. Alright, let's see. Do a cube projection again. And then hey, that looks good. See? And now we're all fancy. We're all good there. And of course, any of the changes you make to this, you'll have to, unwrap it again and do it all over again. So that's a very simple change that you can make. Let's look at maybe a few more changes you could make that'll make it stand out a little bit more. So it's not just a plain floor. So I'll be right back. Yeah. So realized I'm an idiot. What you can do for these right here, what I should have been doing is going to line select. Then you should just be able to hit F, and that will face them off instead of you sitting there trying to drag it back and forth like an idiot. Look at that. Of course, I don't want to do that, but that's how you would do that. That would be an easy way to do that. So, alright. Alright, I'm back, and you may have noticed the hallways changed and all that, but that's because I was attempting to do an actual bevel on the hallways. I thought, well, what if I wanted all rounded corners? Could I bevel things? The answer is maybe, but I can't. I'm not sure what happened, but it screwed everything up and I had to redo my hallway. Not as well, but hey, you know, that's life. And you can see I did do a few other changes. One interesting thing about this is, let me go and, oops. What I did here is I did a loop cut in this, and then I could do it that way. But that did add an extra vertice, and that would screw up my texture. So if you go in your UV window, you can move it. When I loop cut it, it was all stretched, so you can go ahead and move it back to wherever looks good. So I just had to kind of estimate, and I think I got it fairly well. So that's what happens if you do loop cuts. I also, you know, rounded off a lot of these corners so they weren't that boxy look. Oh, that's not right. I'll have to fix that. But after you have it fairly well, we can go ahead and fix all the textures. Let's go ahead and select those. Alright, and then actually unwrap, cube protection, and scale. Let's see. Yeah, that's about good. Alright. So, I also, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the right way to do it or not, but I added a second. I wanted this to be a two-story room right here. This whole room here where they would enter over on this side right here, and then they could walk around like a counter. There'd be some counters in here, or well, those are kind of largely counters because they're going to be. But anyway, it's going to be a two-story roof at least. So, and that means on the second floor, I'm going to have to add another thing around here to make sure that the backface cooling doesn't show up on it. So, but that's essentially, you know, no massive changes. Just deleted a few things out of there, and I could probably, for this, I could probably just go ahead and, let me see, delete these two faces, and then take a face right there, and then I could face that off, and then I'd have to assign that to the floor, and then I have to redo the UVs for the walls to get that one to look nice. But so those are all little things you can do to make it look a little bit less odd. This one over here I actually did by deleting that, and then I just, so my textures wouldn't have issues, or at least my floor textures. I haven't looked at these textures, I guess, but I went ahead and just extruded this side along the x-axis and then faced off this part of it. So you don't always have to just use loop cuts for that. So that's sort of the basics of getting your corners rounded out, and so that things look a little bit different than just the default cube. So, and now would be the time if you wanted to go through and change textures on certain. Maybe you wanted this room to be like a different texture, so you'd go ahead and add another texture, add a material, and then select all this and assign it to a different material, and then get your texture in there, your bump map, or your normal map and your specularity map, and maybe, I don't know, bump map, something like that, whatever works for you. and then that would be how you would change each individual room. You have to go through and do all that, but since this is a basic tutorial, we're not going to really cover all of that. So I'm going to say that that is good for our first floor, and I think what we should do now is probably add a plane and kind of put that over the first floor. And my 3D cursor was over there for some reason. I'm not sure if this is the best way, but I can't think of another way to create a plane over all of that, or create kind of a second floor. So let's kind of scale this up so at least it's the right size, so we can kind of, I don't think it'll matter if it overlaps. It really shouldn't make a difference at all. So then we can go ahead, go here, and I don't know how to snap things easily in Blender. If anyone knows, that'd be great. I should probably go, and that's probably about as good as we can get it for now. Probably couldn't ask for much more, because you can see kind of the outline of the bottom floor on it, so we know exactly where we have to add more. So I'm gonna go let my dog out. Alright, and let's probably go ahead and go back into object mode. Oops. Okay, select. Ah, this says backface culling on. Of course, that would make sense. Let's go back to, see if we can. Alright, let's select, oh shoot, no. Let's tab in edit mode and try and select P, hit P to separate by selection, and I should probably once again turn my freaking screencast keys on. Alright, so now we have plane 001, and this is going to be floor separator. We're just gonna, we don't want them to be the same object anymore. We're going to, we can make the other plane the object, but floor separator, no idea if that's spelled right. And we're going to call this one floor 1. And I think for now we will not have it parented, but alright, now that we have a separate, let's tab into that and let's extrude it along the Z. Just like an eensy-weensy little bit. That way we don't have the backface culling problem. Alright. So now if we kind of, again, we can sort of see what our level is going to be like. And actually, if we want to get really in depth, let's go ahead and actually we'll look in like this and then do Control-Alt-0. That's going to put our freaking camera, our beautiful little camera, right there. And then if we do Shift F, we can sort of, you know, just kind of, that's not exactly what I was looking to do. Never really used this Shift F thing. It looks to be a little bit too speedy for my taste. You know what I mean? How is this so fast? I think I maybe if I hold down the shift it'll go a little slower. Alright. Wow, that's way slower. Alright, so let's pop into our thing here, hold down our shift key. Alright, there we go. Now we can sort of see this is what it's kind of going to look like. We can add a material to our ceiling, of course, so that it doesn't look like absolute crappiness. But as you can see, we're kind of walking down our little hallways. Once we get our first-person shooter rig all set up, we'll be able to do a lot more of this and a lot easier, and we won't be flying through the freaking walls. So, alright, and obviously These lights are really, really bright when they're reflecting off everything, so we'll have to work on toning these lights down, because this is going to be sort of a dungeon thing, so I don't want to get too shiny and too nice looking with the lights. They're going to be dim, and they're going to, yeah. And we can always go ahead and add some static props right now if we really wanted to, but I don't really have too many. I'll see if I can. I have one that I guess we'll go through placing. It'll be just a second. Alright, it should be good to go. If we hit Shift F1, we can go ahead and append it. And let's go to our models, environment, old tree. This is a tree that I got some weird crap in there. Okay, that I made. As you can see, I had it scaled for UDK when I was planning using UDK for the game engine. I didn't though, so. And I probably will need to import the materials and all that, because I don't think it imported that. And this tree is just supposed to be like growing out of the side of the dungeon, because it was supposed to look a lot more dingy. And I'll probably have to mess around with materials until it looks dingy as I want it to be. But one of the things we're probably going to work is hit H to hide that. That's just going to get in our way most of the time. So let's see if we had. I'm going to rotate along the z-axis. Where do I want this tree? I guess right there. And I just made it by doing a bunch of cylinders and then kind of going from there. Let's rotate a little bit more along the Z. Just going to stick itself in a small alcove, I guess. Who knows? Let's go back to texture view. Man, that does not look good there. I'd probably have to delete some walls, create some more open space for it. Alright, well I'm going to pause that and I'm just going to kind of clean this out maybe. No, I don't want to do that. Whatever, I don't care. This is a test map, so it's just going right there. So, alright, we have a tree there. We will need to import the materials. Where is brush, camera, G-pencil, image? Why is there no materials? I'm telling you, I've never had a whole ton of luck with appending. Seems like nothing would quite work. Oh, that's another thing. If you want, you can create your own custom collision meshes, but we'll cover that later. Yeah, alright. Well, I'll figure that out later. For now, it doesn't need to be textured. It looks fine the way it is. Alright, so that's a static mesh we can throw in there, and you can do that for any number of things. I also have, let's say we add a basic wooden chair. Let's go ahead and add, so we got material, bam. I don't know why that wasn't there for my tree, but then let's go ahead and object basic chair, link append, and we have our basic chair. There we go, chair wood. Let's just throw this chair
This little corner over here. You know what gets annoying after a while? This backface culling. That gets annoying too. Just on the Z. Alright, so there's a little chair. Yeah, I know it looks horrible, but hey. Let's turn that back on. So there I have that, and let's see. You can tell that was a great unwrap on my part. Alright, let's go ahead and... okay. Can't find the image, I guess. Let's go back to textures. Stuffing out of it. Whatever. Alright, whatever. I'll deal with that later. I need to learn how to append objects better. But, alright, so that's essentially creating floor 1. We threw a few static props in there. And if we hit Alt-H, if we go back into object mode, hit Alt-H, it will put back our separating plane between the two floors. Then we would just have to do, what I would like to do is do Z, and then I think what we should be able to do is do subdivide, nope, go into edit mode. See, floor separator, tab in edit mode, subdivide, see. Wow, I didn't know about all these. Oh, you can smooth it out. Or I'm assuming you can do it in triangles too. Fancy. Trying to do is sort of guess how big that was if we enter tab. That just seems like way too much. I don't seem to line up though. Oh well, that shouldn't be too hard of a thing. We can sort of move it back and forth until at least one of the lines on this thing lines up. So if we did that, we won't worry about it. Alright, well, from here we would go ahead and do the same thing we did on the first floor. We would go to face mode. I'm not selecting faces. This does not appear to be applied. Select faces there. Cannot select faces there. Let's rotate along the x-axis 180 degrees. Nope, let's do origin to geometry. And then how about cursor to selected, rotate along the x-axis 180, tab, and there we go. Now we can select all these, and then we would just recreate our floor, and I would probably make a wall there to hide that tree. And then we would have to somehow hide this wall here. Maybe we would do, what we could do is do an edge slide. And we could slide it over so that it lines up with that wall, and then slide this, and that would result in slightly larger walls in some parts, but we can deal with that. It's not going to be a huge deal. So, all right, and I think I'm going to leave it here. You can probably figure out the rest. For stairs and stuff, or elevators, you can model those, or shouldn't be too hard. So, all right, and that's basically the first method of level creation with Blender. Let's go ahead and no, we'll keep the, I don't want to go over all the material stuff again. So what I'm going to do is save this as save, and then I'm going to do save copy. Alright, now I have it saved out. Let's go into object mode, delete everything. So, and I think